it takes is going to be keeping on track of where those rulemakings are as they come out this summer and seeing what kind of provisions the FTA has included with those. We'd encourage you to stay tuned to our fast mail newsletter every other week for updates on the safety rulemaking as it comes out. And then we'll meet with leaders at the FTA, Congress, whoever we need to get in touch with to make sure that the concerns of small urban, rural, tribal, and specialized transit providers get their concerns addressed through the process, whether that's in future legislation or any regulatory or policy discussions we can have with FTA in the meantime. We know this is an important concept that really has implications on your budgets. Nobody wants to operate unsafe service. In our business, nobody does. We'll run on our record, as they say here in DC, on our safety history throughout our membership. But we can't be forced to take the choice of either cutting service or submitting new data as part of a safety requirement that may or may not improve things at the end of the day. So look for us to stay on top of this in the months and years ahead. We look at a couple other issues that aren't quite so policy-oriented, more so impacts on general society in terms of how new health conditions and behavioral health disorders impact safety, kind of from the 30,000-foot view. I wrote a story on behavioral health conditions and how new wave of people who have been recently diagnosed, especially diagnosed along the autism spectrum, will be increasingly dependent on the trips we provide as they age out of the education system that's been responsible for a lot of their needs growing up. We take a pretty holistic approach to this and know this is the beginning of a discussion that will continue for many years on how do we best serve people with behavioral health conditions in terms of their own safety aboard the trip, as well as the experience of everybody else on board vehicles, whether that's the employees or their fellow riders. So we encourage you to take a look at that and join in the discussion. Feel free to contact me, Sampson, at cta.org to share your thoughts on this topic and look for future coverage in DigitalCT and elsewhere on this topic. We also have a feature from Pamela Friedman on the increasing use of larger and more powerful mobility devices and how that impacts safety in terms of securing the passengers within those devices and also safety of those employees who are loading them and kind of the equipment that's necessary to provide good service to those folks. We also have a Visify check-in with some background on safety in terms of drug and alcohol testing and how that helps preserve and maintain the safety culture in terms of having safe, qualified employees across your system. So take a look at that. And also, we encourage you to take a look at our safety accreditation program that comes in this edition right after our comments on the FTA rulemaking and how that process is tailor-made to get your organization in shape it doesn't exactly set up the safety plan for you, but it instills a lot of the standards and policies that will make such a plan an easier effort for your system. We encourage you to check in with our training department, Len Cahill, Cahill, at ctaa.org, if you'd like to know more about the safety accreditation program. So that's our safety commitment issue of DigitalCT Magazine. We look forward to going across the state of Michigan this summer. Scott Brogan and myself will continue our annual tradition of driving across the state and visiting 9 or 10 transit providers and really getting to know one system well in depth. And of course, that's ahead of our Expo 2017 in Detroit next spring. So look for that later on this summer. And as always, stay tuned to Fastmail and CTMag1 on Twitter for all the latest news from community and public transportation. So long.